Yeah. You got
Yes.
me? We
That,
good?
yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Nah, perfect.
Yo, yo.
Apologies.
It's all good. It's all to the good.
All right. I know a lot of that had got clipped off, so if we can take it back to getting with SIN, forming SIN.
Sin. For it, did that get clipped?
All
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, my apologies.
No, it's all good. Sin. My cousin Coco came and picked me up from Civil Brand when I was released, and our first indoctrination as Sin is a studio, a home studio. One of the white boys we knew had. He was, like I said, he wasn't the greatest producer in the world, but he had a creative space for us. And, after being locked up, any place was a creative space for me, but that was really dope. And then from there, we got to know Larnay Wilkerson. Met her at a club, and we went to her house, and she introduced us to some beats. And one of them was just funky and jazzy enough that we wrote The Power of the P2. The Power of Pussy, hands down, to this track was the track. Trust me.
Was she still married to one?
Nah, she wasn't married. And that's the first song that we performed at the Good Life Cafe. We made sure. Yeah, I got this guy asking me questions over here.
We all want to know.
Okay. So we went there in our goddess gowns, ready to perform on behalf of all women on how powerful their pee is in the most classy, informative, loving way. There's a lot of beat it up songs today, but we were trying to teach you how to stroke the pussy cat properly to get what you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
What, was, what was that
We talking about
reaction?
legacy right now. Go ahead.
Huh?
What was that reaction like at the Good Life Cafe?
Oh
What
my
kind of response did you
God.
guys get?
That's the first time I've seen people hold a lighter up to represent how hyphy it was. You know what I mean? That was my first time recognizing that. And that came from Fat Jack. Fat Jack was the first one to put his lighter up. I'll never forget. They were wide open. They were impressed at how clever we did it. And by the time they figured out what we were talking about, so was B Hall. B Hall figured it out, and she came and snatched the mic oh so quick when it came to cherries and cherries. She was like, "Oh wait, hold up a second, no, 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 no." And it's history to this day. That's what makes it so beautiful.
Right. Like I said, we all have heard of the Good Life Cafe in which we were there. Your best memories of the Good Life Cafe.
Wow, my best. I'm gonna go through those again. My first, Ava DuVernay, and my two females rock at a spit that was very jazz scat oriented, like a freestyle fellowship, but the melodic energy and the tones that these two women used, I haven't seen it again to this day. To this day. So if you ever see, I'm going to say it again, if you ever see Ava DuVernay and she doesn't speak on how dope of an MC she was back in the day, bring it up for her. She was
Absolutely.
sick.
And you was mentioning about the Project Blowed. At what point did that transition over to Project Blowed?
I would have to say 92, about 92, 93 maybe. But I'm going to stick with 92. And you grow up and you realize that there are certain things you can't do in mama's home that you can do on your own. And
Right.
Project Blowed represented that on your own for us youngsters. You know what I mean? So Ben Caldwell let us come in there, create a list that you had to sign in order to get up there and get workshopped to see if you were dope or not. And the same rules applied. If you weren't coming off, you could get cut off in the middle of your joint. In the middle of it, we'll turn your music off. You might be outside crying, scrambling for a cipher just to feel better about yourself. You know what I mean? But Project Blowed was the home
Legacy.
for that,
Legacy.
and the home for that chop that was created by a freestyle fellowship.
Right. Outside of Project Blowed and The Good Life, what was some of the dues you paid earlier on trying to get your name out there?
Wow. Performing for free is a dues that you must pay. You know, if you think that you're that fly, you're fly with or without pay. So my dues was putting together an actual live band that can execute hip hop, funk, and R&B mashed together, and getting them booked to where we eventually formulated money. That was difficult in itself. And to be two females in the beginning that men would listen to, because men looked at women as being corny or soft rappers, you know what I mean? We came off fly, strong enough, informative enough, and still kept we gangstered it and kept our goddess-like integrity, gangster goddess, you know? So they appreciated us for that. Those were dues we had to pay just to be allowed in a cipher, allowed to open for a KRS-One, to be allowed to get on a stage that Rakim was on, or I mean, you name it. I don't want to just name drop and throw heavyweights out there, but you definitely got to pay your dues and show who you are just to get on these stages. So when I got to the point where I was actually making money at festivals as Medusa and could pay a live band, I felt like I achieved something special.
Right. Paying your dues and coming up throughout the ranks, who are some of the MCs and singers and artists that you were frequenting these spots with?
Wow. Macy Gray, Freestyle Fellowship, Far Side, Michelle and Degiacello. I'm on joints with Jurassic 5. I ended up on joints with Bahamadia, Yo-Yo,
Yes.
Rage, Rage Against the Machine. I mean, Fishbone, Bad Brains. I mean, you know, the list goes on, because I did form a band and was one of the first with a band in LA. So some of those people would come to me looking for musicians. And it allowed me to get into festivals where MCs didn't typically get in unless they were already in the game. You know, they were above ground, not underground. They were commercial. They were at these festivals. Me, I had to work extra hard and put extra elements on it. So it allowed me to open for Ohio Players. You know, like old school heavyweights. I have a joint I did with Tina Marie and MC Light. We're both on this song. I mean, it's, you know, so it allowed me to play with a lot of my favorite vocalists and be respected by them. When a Tina Marie can say, "You're my favorite female MC," that meant everything to me. R.I.P. You know. So yeah, from KRS-One, all of the women that I've named, to a Lil Boosie I've performed with, and it shows you that I have a vast repertoire of get down. Trust me.
Right. You say one of the first in LA, the hip hop music scene with a live band. Is this during the SIN, or is this later on as far as the band goes?
This was later on.
Okay.
It's as Medusa and Feline Science. That was the name of my crew.
We'll get to that in a moment. SIN, at what point do you guys start shopping the demo?
Well, you know, people were just checking for us because we had made a lot of noise. You know, when you can perform with a Far Side and a Freestyle and then turn around and do a gig with the Last Poets or Watts Prophets, you know, like, oh shit, they got range. But once we got into Sylvia Rome's house with East West Records, that's who we signed with. Because a powerful woman like that, we knew that we wouldn't go by the wayside. But just as we signed that contract, she got the head of Atlantic Records. So we're there hoping to work with her, and she goes to Atlantic Records. So we're now left with, just various Jerome Sydenham, Karen. It was just a strange moment. And they were signing a little bit of everybody from LA. But we just kind of sat there. No one knew but Sylvia what to do with us. So, it's in hip hop back then, they had all these boxes they were trying to fill. And we didn't fill any of the typical boxes. They couldn't figure out what to do with us. So we ended up independent all over again.
Before signing with East West, was there any other labels that you shopped to deal with? And why was East West so appealing? Was it Sylvia, or was, for its several multi-album deal? What was so appealing about East West? But first, what other labels did you guys shop to?
We didn't shop to anyone else. That was it. Like at Sin, that's who we went with because of Sylvia. The strong Black woman that was running the industry and the way that she did. Yeah, we signed with that.
Gotcha. Take us back to this cover here.
Woo! That was right around that time. Rap Pages. And you had a magazine straight from the lip out of LA as well. You had UCLA, what was it?
Bomb?
Yes. UCLA's, it'll come to me. Anyway, there were a lot of magazines of that fashion back in that day. But Rap Pages is what every MC wanted to be on. Not Source, Rap Pages. So all of us on that cover were getting some sort of recognition or a record deal during that time out of the West Coast. So we were popping then. And that's when, Goody Mob had just came out. We all came out around the same time. I had a club, Nappy at the Roots, with Jay Smooth. With Jay Smooth's help, we were the first to have Goody Mob perform in Los Angeles. So that's how close we were to all coming out. And that was another reason we signed to East West Records, because it was close to Atlanta. It was close to our style of music as well. Had that funk undertone. It was a little bit gangster and a little bit positive. We all represented that. So that was another reason we signed with them.
Taking it back to this cover, can you take us back to initial conversations when you realized you were going to be on the front page of a national magazine?
Oh my God. I think we were more excited about the fact that all of us were going to be on the cover of this magazine. You know what I mean? And we don't know that until you get to the photo shoot. So to see your peers at the photo, is that E-Rule, AC? Oh my God, we're all going to be on it. We felt like we really did the damn thing.
Was Razzcast on that thing?
Razzcast too. Yep. So every facet that represented LA hip hop during that time is on that cover. If you guys don't know who those people are, you guys need to check out Razzcast, E-Rule, Medusa, Coco, Got Coke, every AC alone just on a solo tip without Freestyle Fellowship. It was heavyweight. It made major noise back then.
Right. Taking us to the East West record deal. Can you take us back to the recording process for that album? Because you eventually had a whole project that never came out.
Right.
Take us back to that recording process for that project.
Well, we chose Fat Jack as our producer because he had that bottom heavy bass that we were looking for, but still had had the feel good music on top of it, that feel good hip hop. So we recorded How to Serve Man, Diva's Den, The Power of the P. To me, I listen to those songs today and they still fit rotation and still have a mark to make in the heart of hip hop. Diva's Den did make, what is the name of the movie? Set It Off. Set It Off. Okay, so Diva's Den is actually in Set It Off when Queen Latifah's girlfriend is dancing for her on the lowrider. That is Diva's Den playing during that moment. So
Wow.
there are certain songs that did get some love, you know what I mean? And we performed them so much from here to New York that it had a straight underground buzz that was lovely. Even though it didn't make it on the shelves, even though it didn't get radio play, it has play on folks' decks from time to time.
Right. You talked about Sylvia leaving for Atlantic. Why did the record end up getting shelved?
I don't think anyone knew what to do with it. They were just kind of, counting on what they already had in rotation and let that be their focus. And I can dig it. There's nobody else there to tell them, who are these LA artists? What do we do with them? What do you mean they're positive? And what do you mean they sing and rap? What is happening? What do we do with it? They didn't know. They just didn't know. And we didn't either, because it wasn't the technology that we have to our service today. We didn't know what to do with it. Without a record label, a publicist, a booking agent, come on. Even if you don't have those today, it could be a problem.
Right. Where did you guys find yourself in limbo during this time? Did you stick around for the deal? Did the deal fizzle? Where did you guys find yourself during this time?
The deal fizzled. My cousin Coco moved to Atlanta to help her father with his business, and I started solo project. The first song that I wrote on a solo tip was with Yusef Afloat. God rest his soul. Yeah, it was called Lyrical Timing. After working with him, I went back to Fat Jack. So I never stayed in limbo. I always booked shows, always writing new material, always falling through open mics just to see who's who, making a battle stance. I was hitting the graveyard shift. Anybody that wanted to battle, I was there. So I couldn't allow the noise that we made to go by the wayside. I had to keep digging. I had to keep getting it. And people knew when you came to LA, you was going to see me. You was going to see me.
I saw you.
Yes. So now there is no limbo. It stayed in motion.
Were you able to take that project with you when you left East West Records?
No, but some odd years later, we are in possession of that album. Fat Jack has that album, but on reels, 2-inch like we used to record.
Right. So at what point do you start Feline Science?
During that time of writing new music, I said, you know what? I have to have a live band to do this. It's a must. And I started with just a bass player and a percussionist and me. Then it grew from a percussionist, bass, drummer, and 2 background singers. And it excelled from there. Musicians started to realize I had grown musicians that did jazz and blues. So they would spread the word like, hey, there is an MC, there's some hip hop that wants us as musicians to play for them. So a lot of people would come and offer their services, and that's how I was able to create. I ended up with damn near a 13-piece band. Horn section, bass, drum, guitar, keys, DJ, 3 background singers, percussionist who used to be one of the original Lockers, Lawrence Abrams. So yeah. Once it got on that level, I knew I had did something because it reminded me of my old school Bootsy, my old school George Clinton, the LaBelles, Aretha Franklin, Al Green, all of those things meshed together on the stage with an MC the likes of a Sly or a KRS-One I'm standing outside of myself right now looking at it. That's what I would have wanted to see. That's what I want my niece and my homegirls to view. I want that, and there's a few people that came in the scene and took nibbles off of it. If you know me or Coco or our crew from back in that day, you would be able to point it out. I'm not going to point it out. You'll be able to point it out.
Right.
It's all to the good. But
did Joseph Lineberg ever slide through?
Joseph was one of my horn players. He started playing again because of this group.
Wow.
And at first he was nervous and didn't want to do it. And I kept pushing and pleading, and he finally kicked in. Joseph Lineberg. Yes, baby. He's cold now on his own. He had a band himself. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to visit him right after I saw you in San Diego. So
Oh,
we hung
God.
out for a bit. Yeah, we checked out some music. So yeah, he's definitely back.
Yeah,
What-
man.